Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. There we got a beautiful liftoff, courtesy of Carlton Bailey, our partner here at the American Space Museum. Carlton's out there taking pictures, so basically I don't have to, and I love that. Carlton, great picture. We're going to talk about the Psyche spacecraft got launched on the Falcon Heavy there to an asteroid named Psyche. It's going to take 6 years to get there, and we're going to tell you why and why this asteroid is so interesting. Many of you know it's a very metal-rich asteroid, so heavy metal out there going into space. And we'll talk about this launch here in just a minute that Carlton Bailey sent us a few pictures. A little bit of a Friday the 13th for me today because I had pictures I took out at the Cape Canaveral Causeway. Marty Winkle, my producer here for 4 years. We're privileged that Marty took us out there on his pass. Marty, it was a good crowd and a nice mid-morning launch on a hot and humid Florida morning, wasn't it, buddy?
Yeah, but it was worth it, though. And by the way, that's NASA Causeway.
NASA Causeway. Okay, that's not on Cape Canaveral property yet then. On the other end there. We're always a privilege to go out there and be on any property, whether it be NASA or Cape Canaveral, to see a launch. And we think this was the 55th launch of the year, so that's pretty incredible. They had a sign out there as we went in there. So thank you for Marty. Took Hazel out there with us, Connie McDaniel, and Tammy. What's Tammy's last name?
Miller.
Tammy
Miller.
Miller, yeah, Tammy Miller's quite a space geek herself and loves getting those autographs, so it was good hanging out with you, Tammy Miller, today. And we had a nice lunch afterwards, and I don't have pictures of us because some Friday the 13th anomaly didn't let me to download that card before we went on air today. But we also were out at the NASA they had a trade show expo, space expo going on underneath Atlantis, and I wanted to show you pictures of that, but either I took my real camera out there, Marty, my Nikon, and I should have just used my cell phone, but we were using that at our Spaceview Park as a hotspot. Anyway, we had a great day today. We hope you're all enjoying a Friday the 13th. Want to say hello to Tommy Usiak in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and his brother Mark Usiak is in Johnson Space Center as we speak. And he sent me pictures of Frank Rubio's press conference after his over a year in space, 377 days, I think. And Mark Usiak's out there in Houston to capture the Ring of Fire eclipse that's going to happen tomorrow. Beginning Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, about noon. So it'll be about 11 o'clock there. Totality is about 1:30 here, so it'll be noon 30 in Houston time. But we'll talk about that eclipse too, the Ring of Fire eclipse, and what to expect and what to not do. Do not look through any optical instruments without help from an amateur astronomer, or you'll burn your eyes out. Well, we wanted to remind everybody that we're going to kick off in November 1st a Galaxy of Giving campaign here for our American Space Museum to help fund some of our projects along the way here. And we all know that nonprofits need to ask for money, and we always know that you respond to our Galaxy of Giving campaign. That'll be kicked off November 1st, and hoping to raise some money for our much-needed improvements to our galleries. And we want to thank Steve Agid, just this gentleman right here, for a wonderful program on the 50th anniversary of Skylab, America's first space station. There's Steve giving a personal tour to a personal group under the Saturn V rocket engines there. Steve, you did a fabulous job, and we welcome him as being a regular contributor to Stay Curious. And I already heard from several of you out there that really enjoyed how he had some great information about Skylab. Marty, 50 years later, I didn't know the anomaly and the backup crew that was going to be done for, they had some reaction control thruster problems on that Skylab 2 with Jack Lausimo on there. Alan Bean was the commander, Owen Garriott. And we need to ask John Tribe about that, Marty, because he was a reaction control hypergolic sky. And that was really a neat part of Steve's story yesterday.
Yeah,
Yes,
look,
Marty.
I'm not sure if he was on the RCS jets. I think he was just all the what I'll say is the main engines. Did he do
Oh,
RCS?
Tribe? Well, he had that anomaly on the 16 where the reaction control thrusters leaked and had to pull it back in. But we'll see. We'll see if he does. But Steve, he added a lot to our program, and he wants to do more programs with Stay Curious. And of course, we're going to get together with him and figure out a few as we enjoy Nick Thomas, one of his contemporaries out there that also is the chief communicator. Nick every month talks about the shuttles or a Mercury, Gemini, or Apollo program, and we got Mikey Haddad will be on the end of the week. We're going to talk about the Deutsch 1 mission, the German lab that was launched at the end of the month of October. And then we got, of course, Terry White, who did a great program this week on Stay Curious about hurricane preparation at Kennedy Visitors Complex. So we really enjoy all of our special guests and hope you do too. And we're bringing more people on board all the time to stay curious with you. Well, let's look at one other little publicity. You're local. Astronomy on Tap Orlando. A lot of communities in the big college towns have astronomy on tap. Has become popular, where space geeks get together, have a few adult beverages, and have a program or two. Well, Rachel Lowers is going to talk all about asteroids. This is next Tuesday at the Oveda Brewing Company outside of Orlando. That's on the north side of Orlando. And Kayla Shang is going to talk about her planetary sciences degree there. So building a landing pad on the moon, all about asteroids. So we're going to enjoy that. I'll be there and maybe bring back a picture or report about it. Of course, we're always talking about our program. I appeared on Orlando on Tap a few months ago. There we got Steve there. So also in the news is this is the NAKIOA or something like that. Russian for science lab. The Naku Science Lab has sprung a leak, and though it's apparently stabilized, and I think they canceled a spacewalk. I forgot to research this very much, so I'm going to do it. But keep your eye on the International Space Station, as one of the Russian science modules did spring a leak. This is a picture of it a few days ago. You can't see the leak on it, but and it has a Soyuz spacecraft lifeboat attached to it there. So there's CB's launch. As I go back there, just want to remind everybody that 7 astronauts are on the International Space Station and 3 are on a Chinese space station. And on our International Space Station, we have Russians. We have a gentleman from Denmark. We've got, I think he's from Denmark, but the ESA astronaut. And pardon me?
Netherlands, I think.
The Netherlands, yeah, the Netherlands. There we go. And so 2 women on the space station, so of the 7 crew members. Great shot there. CB, Carlton Bailey, he's done over 700 launches as a contractor and space journalist. And he was talking to me today that it was the haze out there in the morning didn't burn off real quickly because the sun was hidden behind clouds most of the morning. Cleared up just enough. Well, it didn't really clear up, but the clouds were low enough to get the launch off. And you have that high haze, makes your images not as sharp. And this, of course, is the Falcon Heavy 27 Merlin engines roaring off pad 39A there. Look how it's all lit up. Look at the bright red on the tank on the far right there. And nice framing there, Carlton, with the water there in the foreground. And even some little fauna there. I like that. Perfect shot, buddy. That is headed to this asteroid. This is not a photograph of the asteroid. This is an artist's conception of what we think a basically metal asteroid looks like. And why is it metal? Well, we think it's the inside core of a planet that may have gotten blown apart somehow, or it didn't quite come together. We're very interested to see this asteroid Psyche, to see what it looks like, what elements are in it, because we think the terrestrial planets of Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars have a similar center to them, and maybe the giant gas planets also have a center of metal like this does. So this is, again, to look at the beginnings of our solar system. I didn't set up at the beginning of the show that we're talking about two asteroids today. We're going to talk about one that we're headed to and another one that we just got samples back from, the asteroid Bennu. Now, this asteroid's pretty big. The current trajectory, I'll tell you here in a minute. This asteroid was discovered in 1852 by Italian astronomer Gasparis. It is technically called 16 Psyche, which means it was the 16th asteroid to be discovered. It's the largest of 9 known metal-rich asteroids orbiting in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. And radar observations show it's shaped roughly like a potato, measuring, but it's a big one. This is over 173 miles across by 144 miles. But it only appears as a star-like dot, even the most powerful telescopes. And from a spectral analysis from Earth and other observations from the Hubble telescope, scientists know that it has a high metal content. Now, is that metal iron, nickel, gold? All right, there's a silver. There's some conjecture that this is a big asteroid. This is, like I said, 170 by 125 miles across. What if it had, 10 trillion tons of gold on it? And one of these billionaires put a rope around it and bring it back to the Earth's vicinity and mine it, that would make gold worthless. So some of the scientists have spouted some estimates that it has, 10,000 trillion, amount of metal on it that could be valuable metals. So they're just kind of being silly and just getting people excited in a positive way that this is a very unusual place that we're going to in the solar system, and we can't wait to see what it looks like. We're going to have to wait a while. I'll tell you that in a minute. But yes, what I think is it's the anticipation, Marty, to see this in 6 years is much like seeing Pluto when New Horizons was launched. It's sort of like everybody's hoping, well, I just want to live at least 6 more years longer to see what this asteroid looked like. So there's a lot of that goes on in our life. Well, there's another shot from Carlton Bailey, clearing the tower there, the vapors of the fuel vapors there, liquid oxygen coming off of the side there. Looks like a beautiful shot there. Look at the big payload fairing on that. This is a $1.2 billion with a B dollar spacecraft built for NASA by the Jet Propulsion Lab. They will attempt to answer many questions about just our whole entire solar system and asteroids, just like comet or asteroid Bennu, that we have about 8 ounces of it now in Houston. We'll talk about that asteroid and what the early findings are that were talked about early this week by NASA. The current trajectory, there's another. That's CB. That was about 3 seconds you had there to shoot that against blue sky, and then it ducked right into a cloud there. But look at the beautiful morning light coming from the right or the east there on that beautiful Falcon 9 rocket, 222 feet in the air. Looks like one Falcon 9, it was 3 together. The angle Carlton had there doesn't show you the whole stack of it. So 2 of them landed at the Cape Canaveral Space Force. Yeah, you just barely see it there. Yep. Yeah, you just barely see it, but there's 3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together. The launch, this is a chart. I couldn't find one that talked about it. This is a delayed launch for over a year. It's supposed to go last August, but just say that's 2023. It's going to take it till January of 2027, okay, to arrive at Psyche. Actually, that whole thing's wrong there because it got delayed so much. It will be intersecting with Mars in May 2026. For a gravity assist. It says 2023 there. So Um, 2026 is going to go by Mars. It'll place it in a trajectory to intersect with Psyche on August 2029. And from there, its primary science mission is expected to last 21 months when it will orbit this asteroid, take pictures far away, get as close as they probably can. I would say probably within 60 miles. And this is exciting to have this all go well. And so what are they trying to figure out here is how this formed. Going back to the rocket, the look there. Two ways they think this formed. One is it's the core of a planetary body. It's a lot like the Earth with a multimetallic center. All right. But in this case, it may have been something destroyed the outer mantle, and this is all that's left. Maybe it was a nuclear war by civilization that once thrived in our solar system. That is not beyond the realm of possibility. But it's been stripped away, they think, of its layers somehow. Or it was just created like this, which is kind of odd because something that metallic and heavy in mass would be attracting a lot of material around it. So you would expect a mantle would have built up around it. So this is a puzzle of our solar system, and we will be happy to answer these questions and all look at the asteroid Psyche in 6 years after the successful blast off. So, well, what we are getting to look at are pieces of an asteroid called Bennu, Bennu, and this is the capsule of the Osiris Rex probe that had harvested over 8 ounces of material, and this material is now in Johnson Space Center in our Lunar Receiving Lab. They had a press conference this week, NASA did, to give the preliminary results of this. Oil, but rock and soil from the asteroid Bennu, which is only a 1/4 mile across, a very small asteroid. I'm going to show you a picture of it in a minute. Next slide, in fact. Brought back to Earth last month in September by NASA's Osiris Rex probe. There is Osiris Rex, okay? This is a 1/4 mile across. That means this gravity is so low that if I was on the surface of it and jumped up, I would leave it. It doesn't have enough surface gravity to hold me on it. In fact, you see these little rocks on the edge there just hanging on there. It's theorized that if you landed on the thing, you might sink down into it like quicksand, or more like the kids' play balls that they have, that they jump in balls, or you see something like that, and literally maybe push the material away and bust this thing up with not too much effort. Does not have many meteorite impacts on it, see, so it has withstood. It's been like this in a fresh way for not too long, apparently, within millions of years. So what we figured out, how they brought it back, was the spacecraft Osiris Rex. You see its little cap on the top there. That's what came back to Earth. It has a probe that is stuck down, and with a blast of nitrogen air, it was like blasted air in, and that put surface stuff up that caught it inside there. Here it is harvesting it again like that. So it, inside of it, sampled 4 different areas. You can see particularly the Osprey one in the middle right. You see where it's been disturbed. There's some sort of impression that was made there. So 4 different sites. And it took over a year for Osiris Rex to orbit this small asteroid and decide where it was going to set down. And as it lifted it up, it had several cameras on this. I find this very interesting, so they could see from the video that they did get stuff inside. They got so much of it that the door wouldn't close of the device that's inside there, and particles were coming out. But when they bring this back to Earth, it landed on Earth like we showed you this back picture here. There's a scientist around it at the desert in Utah about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Inside that is just a treasure trove of information about our solar system And this is another mission that costs almost $1 billion from start to finish, and also a a very long mission. Launched from Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral by an Atlas V on September 8th, 2016. So 7 years later is when we get the sample back. And it's worth waiting for. There it is, taking the sample. And here it is in the lab out of the Utah desert. And when they open it up immediately, they see all this dark area in there and dust and pieces of rock. And they're going, my gosh, there's pieces of this asteroid just laying there. And we've got and inside of that white canister there is 8 ounces of this stuff. So they just took this carbon, very dark rock there. It's very carbonaceous, like you'd think about coal. And so this is what they've analyzed, and the samples have already shown that they have clay minerals, have water locked inside their crystal structures, as one of the planetary scientists. And that scientist says, I want to stop and think about what that means. That is how we think we got water here on Earth, locked up in asteroid and comet samples. But definitely all kinds of carbon and water detected in these, not liquid flowing water. This is scientific water, if you would, locked up in the structures of the molecules here of the material. Clay minerals they find, not actual clay, but minerals that are associated with clay. They show dark colors expected of the rich carbon material. And these samples were found outside the main container, giving scientists an unexpected bonus. And they believe that the inside the container has almost 9 ounces of rocks and soil that has yet to be opened. But they're going to open it here in the next few weeks. And they've already decided that they're going to give a third of it away, maybe a fourth of it, they're going to analyze a fourth of it, put 3/4 of it away for future generation to look at, when they might even have different instruments. Think about x-rays in the 60s, and now you have an MRI in the 2000s. So technology does improve, and scientists hold back some of their samples of things so that the advanced generations can look at the pristine rocks or whatever they're saving. So this is quite a wonderful discovery that we're going to be learning about our solar system. It's not just a bunch of rocks. These are some of the rocks that were formed at the beginning of our time, our solar system time, which is over 4 billion with a B years ago. So we'll be keeping you abreast of that and more. Now, Osiris Rex is deposited this container on Earth, and it went on for another mission where it's going to intercept another asteroid, not sample it, but it's going to take pictures of it in another 3 or 4 years. So that gives you an idea. Space is really, really big too, because you just can't hop from one thing to another in a few weeks or months. No, it takes years to get between large objects orbiting our solar system. So there's the lab. They'll be working it out there and having a good time with that. Well, let's end our Stay Curious today on this Friday the 13th with talking about the October 14th eclipse that's going to happen, as you see, on the left side of our great country. On the right side is the total solar eclipse. It's going to happen April 8th, 2024. It's going to go over a larger populace of the United States, of course. But we have plenty of time to talk about that. What is the difference between an annular eclipse and a total solar eclipse? Well, the little pictures there show you. The annular eclipse is when the moon is far away from the Earth. Therefore, it's slightly too small to cover up the sun completely. And they're going to see a ring of fire over Texas and New Mexico and parts of Nevada in California, and the top part of Arizona is going to see the whole sun covered not completely covered by the moon, but the moon's going to be over the whole sun, and the edges of the sun are going to be visible. And this is still too bright to look at without the proper equipment. And Mark Usiak is in Houston. He's there for Totality. Got people all over that I know have gone out there to check out this phenomenon of nature. And believe me, it is a phenomenon. The phenomenon being that the Earth, that the moon, at 2,100 miles across and 2,500 miles away, 250,000 miles away, the moon at 1,200 miles across is the same size as the sun that is 800,000 miles across and 93 million miles away. It's just an optical coincidence that they line up a half a degree in the sky. If you're a local person, come out to Merritt Island Veterans Center, and we're going to have telescopes manned by the Brevard Astronomical Society and the American Space Museum, so you can safely look at the sun and enjoy it. The first contact, the bite taken out of the sun, is around 10 minutes before noon, and then it ends a little after 3. So basically, it's a noon to 3 event, and the sun is going to look like Pac-Man. About half of it's going to be cut out from where we see here in Central Florida. There's exactly where we're going to be at. If you know the Veterans Memorial there, just go in the front, and you'll see us right there on the right-hand side of this beautiful facility. And this is not an event that you have to stand out and watch constantly. You can go inside the Veterans Memorial Center and check out some of the things there. And this is what it would look like from start to finish, from about 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time, maybe a quarter after at the top, to down at the bottom it'd be like 3 o'clock. And right in the middle is like 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. But we're only going to see here in Florida, like I said, just barely half of it covered up. About 3 in at the top and 3 in from the bottom right is what we'll see it there. So no Doug Forrest will be watching it in Los Angeles. Tell me what it looks like there. They'll have about 75% coverage, I think. Dave Stain, his granddaughter, our youngest Stay Curious fans watching today. Hi, Cynthia Rossi. And Bill Whiting, hope you're feeling better, Bill. Understand you'll be back warming up here in the next week. So, and Tom Usiak and Carlton Bailey chiming in today on Friday the 13th. So go out there, and though it's not as spectacular as a total eclipse of the sun where the moon completely blocks out the sun and daylight is turned to darkness for 4 minutes, is what's going to happen in April 8th. The annular eclipse for you in the total area of it might see a little bit of dimming of the sky like twilight. But here in Florida, we're not going to see at all any kind of dimming. But we'll be safely looking at the sun at Merritt Island. There's ways that you can enjoy it. There again is the path across the country where the total area is there. If you have friends or family that live in that area, why aren't you on their doorstep tomorrow? Me, I was a little too busy to take a time off right now and see my sister who's in San Angelo, Texas, there in one of them big ovals in West Texas. You could do some creative things with the crescent of the sun. Actually, it's the moon is the dark area against the sun. A pinhole camera, we talked about that Monday. Just take a sheet of paper and poke some holes in it and hold it down to the ground, and you're going to see little crescents like you see on the dog. Look at the person. They put their eyes in their head with the crescents. That's kind of cool. And tree leaves will create a pinhole illusion, and you'll see the crescent moon, maybe, and the crescent sun on some of the fauna around you. And it looks like somebody put an eye on a hand puppet there. So you can get a little bit creative. If you do, send me your pictures of it. So hope everybody understands that you cannot look at the sun safely without the proper equipment on a telescope, binoculars, or a rifle sight. So don't even attempt to do that. There are proper sunglasses that I have right here. Got my shades on there. Solar sunglasses. Might be too late to, of course, order them from Amazon, but a lot of the science centers will have them. We'll be having them to help with people. And then also there's a fancy little magnifier thing that you want to maybe buy this for the April eclipse, where I can safely look at the sun like this with a little bit of magnification. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, helping out at the Veterans Memorial Center, getting a little sunshine in solar eclipse style. So, Marty, thank you for a good show today. We have anything else to say to our friends out there?
No, we're good to go.
All right. Well, we hope everybody enjoys the weekend, enjoys this solar eclipse, and gets you pumped up to see the total eclipse in April along that path. So, everyone, we appreciate you sharing our program with your friends so we can increase our numbers. We're almost at 2,000 on YouTube, and we are asking you to support our museum in so many different ways. I'm asking you to go out and get a little Saturn and Jupiter this weekend. If you know a local astronomy club, Saturn is the brightest star when it gets dark. About 9 o'clock, you look to the east. Ooh, what's that bright star? That's Saturn. 2 hours later, about 11 o'clock, you're going to see another even brighter star, as I do this right, and that's the planet Jupiter. So we'll, of course, be talking about Saturn and Jupiter in our backyard stargazing episodes of Stay Curious. So until next time, thank you all for supporting our American Space Museum. We saw so many of you friends here to watch the launch of Psyche. We're so glad that it got off in a proper way, finally headed out to the asteroid belt, and we'll be checking in with it when it gets by Mars in about 3 years. We'll see some photos of Mars, and then this strange heavy metal asteroid. So, well, until the next time, I want to say we want to appreciate everybody who's come into our museum this week. We've had a lot of fans of the launch today. We appreciate you a lot in supporting us by buying T-shirts and memorabilia. So until next time when we stay curious, I'm Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.